topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. So excited to be here with y'all. And it's Tuesday morning, yes. And we are going to be talking sports today, like with our guests. So let's bring in our guest today.
Hey, good morning, Divya.
Good morning, Lou. So Lou, share with my audience if you know of any moment or any person who left a very positive mark on you.
Oh, wow. Wow. A positive, well, it would have to start with my parents. I was extremely lucky to have the parents that I had and the lessons that they taught me. And from when I was 12 years old, working in my dad's shop, and I was getting paid like $1 an hour or something. I was 12 years old. And after about a few months, he said, "Son, I'm going to give you a chance to make more money." And I said, "That's great." So he said, "I'm going to pay you by the jobs that you do." And of course, he knew what was going on. I was playing around. I was a typical 12-year-old.
Of course.
So the next time we were supposed to get paid, I said, "Dad, there's something wrong. I didn't make as much money." And he said, "Well, son, that's because you didn't work very hard. And I'm paying you by the job." And he said, "You need to understand that you're getting paid for the value you bring to the hour, not for just showing up." And I've never forgot it.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful lesson to teach a child.
Yes, very lucky. And I believe it or not, Divya, in my finance career, everybody that's hired has told that story. That you are not here just to put in an hour. You're here to bring value to that hour.
Yes. And that's the thing, right? Like if you don't add value, then you could work 100 hours and it's worthless.
Yeah.
So it's important that you bring the value to it.
Yep. Very,
So
very much.
you've had a very multi-dimensional career. So tell us, as you grew up, like, when you were young, what interest did you have?
Let's see. In high school, I lettered in football, basketball, baseball, golf, and tennis. So obviously I liked sports. And after that, I went into coaching at a very young age. I was 19 years old, sophomore in college, and the principal at the school where I'd gone called me and said, "Hey, Lou, we need your help. The 8th grade coach got sick. Could you coach the team?" And I had just finished playing on the West Virginia freshman basketball team. And so I was all fired up, and that started my career in coaching for about 18, 19 years at every level.
Nice. So tell us, like, every stage is so precious and yet different. How did you adapt? Tell us about your journey.
Well, I was, like I said, I was very lucky. I started early, and I got the head coaching job at the high school. I think I was 20 years old. I still had 6 months to graduate, and they got special permission. I've had so many wonderful, wonderful things. And after spending 5 years as the head coach, where we were very successful, we had great kids, believe me, great players. Even though they had never won a championship, we won 2 championships in 5 years, state championships. And then I decided I wanted to see what college coaching was like, and I went into a small college. And then my last 7 years in coaching, I was an assistant coach at West Virginia University with Gail Catlett, who was the head coach. And just, I'd go back and do it again. I'd go back
Mm,
and do it again. And it wasn't about money. I had to do all kind of special things to make enough money to live, but I'd do it again. The experiences, the things I learned were amazing.
mm. You talk about success, right? You mentioned just now, it was so powerful that I did other things also to make money, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. So,
Mhm.
what was it about that coaching that kept you wanting to come back to it?
Well, in my last book that I just published about success, there was a study done in 2004, and there was a book written from that. The book is called Grit, and it studied all of the factors that motivate people, everything, and why people are successful in what they do. And the number one factor that came out was grit, which is passion and perseverance. And I would agree with that. I've had passion in everything. I went from coaching, which was my passion, and then I went into my hobby, which was the stock market, which, if you have a hobby, you love it. And I'm still working today. It's going to be 77, and still look forward to coming in and working and dealing with people and so forth. And I'm enjoying now giving talks at high schools about success. I've been in about 6 different states, from Florida to West Virginia to Ohio to Pennsylvania to Maryland, and I just came back from Las Vegas, and,
Nice.
just giving talks about success. It's my
Mm.
passion.
You said about passion and perseverance. So, what were you passionate about? What did it give it to you?
You know what? That's an interesting story. I think it's just the love of sports. When I first started, obviously I played a lot of sports and all the things that it taught me. And I look back on what sports, and I just think it's one of the best things you can do with kids is get them into sports. And I'm not saying for them to be a pro player or anything like that. I'm just saying what you learn in sports, and it was just so easy. I loved, and how do I say this? I'm very competitive. I started that way. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I wanted to try to find a way to win at Monopoly by how you could roll the dice. I mean, I love to compete, and I'm, very, very unusual, not to a point of doing something wrong. I've told people there's no honor in winning if you don't win fairly. And it really upsets me on some of the things that I see out there today where money is, well, they call it the root of all evil. And I see it everywhere in sports today. It's all about winning at all cost. And my last book talks about that, where it's success is more than winning. And I don't think winning the wrong way is right. I would rather lose than
Mm,
win in the wrong way. And it's funny, and I think something like golf taught me that, because if anybody that plays golf, they understand it. You don't touch the ball when you're playing in competition. You don't do any kind of things like that. There's an integrity there, and unfortunately, in some of the sports, it's not there. And I've been around all of them, and I don't like some of the things I see, and from when it's just winning, because there's just so much money involved. And I mean, we've seen that in college recently, and cheating and everything else, and it doesn't matter. you know
mm,
the universities had hired the people back because they won. Doesn't matter if they cheated. And I think that's repulsive.
definitely. Integrity is one of the key things because at the end of the day, regardless whether you have won or not, whatever you have done,
Yep.
when you look at yourself,
Yeah.
whether it's in the mirror or you're with yourself, you know what you have done.
Yeah.
It's not for anybody else to see. It's for you to have that peace of mind. And also it's there, right? If when you live with integrity, just the power of it, you stand in your own truth. You
Yeah.
stand in that confidence that nothing else can replace it with. So, what would you say were some of the lessons that you carried from the high school coaching to college coaching?
That's a good question. Obviously, the things you learn, I was really involved with the sports psychology angle that I got involved with at a young age. I was
Mm,
probably in my late 20s or something, and I was involved in a book called Don't Choke, where we talked about how to handle pressure in sports. And I even gave talks at the PGA for a couple of years with it about that, about handling pressure, and got to meet my idol, Arnold Palmer, at one of my talks. He actually showed up. You talk about adding pressure when your idol walks in the room. And believe it or not, we talked for an hour afterwards. And he told me, he said, Lou, you're right on. He said, you know, he said, you can do more and achieve more between how you handle the 6 inches between your ears, the mental side of the game. And I've never forgot it. And just so I understood the psychology, and I was involved in a book and dealt with psychology, and I've continued that route and all the different things you can do. So I brought the mental side from high school to college, where I taught the players how to relax, and because everyone gets a little excited or nervous, and which is very normal, but it's how you mentally handle it. And of course, I was talking about mental imagery, self-talk 50 years ago to my players. And now it's like a standard.
yeah,
You listen to anybody and you can see them closing their eyes and mentally getting an image of what they're about to do, which is so important. Watching how they talk to themselves. And one of the things I did that's really kind of neat that I've had a lot of fun with, it took me 6 years to write my new book, Success is More Than Winning.
hmm,
And I added something because of an editor that told me, she says, I've read every success book out there. What's going to make yours different? I mean, she hit me with that the first week, I think, which was unbelievable. And she said, I've got an idea for you. And she said, why don't you back up your experience with research? So in my book, I've got about 80 different research projects summarized after I talk about the point. And I learned a lot, even at my age and my experience, from just researching success and all the different things that are involved in it. So that's kind of what I brought to college, was more the mental, because back 40, 50 years ago, people weren't dealing with that very much. And it was a new science, let's say. So,
hmm,
and I've always enjoyed it. I can watch players, like say someone's at the foul line and it's really a pressure time. I can see if they're thinking about it, which that you shouldn't do. You're just supposed to just do what you normally do. But the pressure makes you try to put the ball in the basket instead of just shooting the ball. And it's all how you deal with it mentally. You got to have a mental routine. All the top athletes today, if you listen to them, they all have mental routines. A lot of them have sports psychologists that work with them. It's kind of a norm today because they understand how important it is. And I was just lucky that I was involved in it very early in my career.
absolutely. So, let's kind of take some of those learnings to the CEOs and professionals and leaders in
Mhm.
the corporate industries and our entrepreneurs. So, what is happening is there's a lot of, turbulence kind of going on in the industries right now because of artificial intelligence, economy, whatever we want to call it. Just recently, I saw a study where they showed was that the college degree holders are finding themselves unemployed in a very long time, and also a lot of young college graduates are not getting jobs. So for
Mhm.
whatever some of the reasons, what advice would you give them, like, what mental game that they can play?
Well, you're talking about something that deals with where the jobs are. And if you look in history, they've gone different ways, and AI is changing all of that. There's
Yeah.
no question about it. I mean, they're talking about it being a revolution, just like when computers were first came out and how it destroyed some of the jobs. And unfortunately, it is destroying jobs. One of the reasons that a lot of jobs were shipped overseas was because they could do it cheaper. Well, now because of AI, we are bringing jobs back to America. I mean, there's plants going up everywhere, but it's not your typical labor type job. It's someone that has experience in AI or somebody that knows a lot about computers and how to do that. Because for 100 Chinese, it might only take with AI on our side 10 people to do the same job that 100 Chinese can do. So now it's cheaper than what they can do over there because because of AI. So people need to realize that. I know that I have 2 young sons, and one runs my finance company, and the other one is going to be coming in with us in some part here very shortly. And told them both that we need to be involved in AI. And my oldest son is very much involved and understands it, knows how to deal with it, talking about ways to use it in our business and so forth. So that old adage, if you don't adapt, you die.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't sit there with a psychology degree. Like, I know a lot about psychology. I spent 15 hours starting out to get a sports psychology degree. And that might be something. But when AI comes, a person will be able to get all the latest stuff and so forth on a computer, on their phone. And so you've got to be able to add value, as I learned. And as a 12-year-old, whatever you've got to do to adapt today versus complaining about it. And, well, this is terrible, I can't. No. You have to basically go out and adapt to whatever it is. Coaching taught me that. I'm so lucky to have been a coach because you're constantly evaluating, constantly going over and changing things. And if you sit there and complain and whine, you're not going to be there very long. What are you going to do? I heard a story about this and said, for people that complain and whine, this one coach, if someone brings anything up, he said, what are you going to do about it? That's the key. What are you going to do about it? Not sit there and whine, and because jobs are different. No, you may have to go back to school. You may have to take some night courses. That's the reality of it. And if you sit there and stay unemployed because of it, it's your own fault. I'm a big responsibility person. I take total responsibility and for everything that I do. And it's just so important of a key for success in people in today, because things are changing. That's what makes it more difficult for young people today. And the old thing that you used to do, it might be changed, and you might have to learn how to adapt to it. And I'll tell you, I would have a hard time because I've got people that help me with technology. I don't know what I'd have to do if I didn't have help with AI and stuff like that, but I'm just lucky. I've got younger people around who are well versed in it. But you've got to adapt. You got to take responsibility. My favorite mantra when I was a coach was, if it's to be, it's up to me. And I wouldn't let anybody, anything else. It's that simple. You're not starting. You want to start? Then it's up to you. You got to start working instead of leaving practice early, when everybody else is staying late and you're basically leaving. So there's just a lot of good things out there about success that I've learned. And I failed. Part of the things people say, Lou, nothing bothers you. And I said, no, it's because of sports. I learned how to lose and learn from it and move on. I was a big proponent of John Wooden, who was the coach at UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of the winningest coaches ever.
Right.
Yeah. Listen to this statistic. He won 7 NCAA championships in a row. And we're lucky if we get one team to win 1 in a row, today. He won 7 and he won 10 in 12 years. I visited his practices when I was young, 20 years old. I remember it just like yesterday. He taught me the 4 mindsets that are very, very important in life. And I've used them for 50 years. And they've taught me just so many things. Sports can do that. And that's the most wonderful thing. Any parent out there, and I'm not saying, that I expect them to be a star, but get them involved where they fail. And and you watch them and you teach them how to fail. There's nothing wrong with failure. And if you learn from it.
That's the key. And I like what you said. You said that if it's to be, it's up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're taking that ownership, and so then everything, right, whether it's failure or success, they're yours to own.
Yeah.
Versus so many people will blame it on other people.
Oh yeah, those the escape people. The team was better. We lost the ball game, and I remember it vividly because there was a really close call at the end of the game, and of course the players coming down, all complaining about the official. Everybody, just typical. And I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Yes, the call may have cost us." I said, "May have cost us." But I said, if we would have played better, it wouldn't have been close. And so it wouldn't have been up to this person to make a mistake if they did. Just remember that. That's our fault. We let this team too close where that somebody could separate it or make the difference that had nothing to do with the game. And I'm just, I'm just such a believer in all those kinds of things. We need to be better. Of course, I again, John Wooden was my idol and everything from his definition of success, which I've used. I've never talked about winning ever. And his definition basically was, do your best, because he said, that's all you can do. If you've done your best, that's all you can do. And if you don't win the ultimate, what you want, then you have to work on things. And that's what losing teaches you. It just teaches you and it gives you an opportunity to get better.
Yep. So you mentioned about John Wooden's 4 mindsets. Mm-hmm. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. The first one, which sounded very easy. I thought it was, and it took me years to develop it. And that is always staying in the present. Anybody that I'm around, I do not let them go to the past or go to the future. And we stay in the present at all times, because that's the only way you can get better. You don't get better by whining about the past or worrying about the past. The past is the past. There's nothing you can do about it. In the future, it's going to be whatever. So if you stay in the present, and I'll never forget, I think 21 years old, and I visited his practice out in LA, and I'm watching him talk to his team. And here's what he said. I mean, I don't have it perfect, but basically he said, okay, I've got you for the next 2 hours. I want you to forget about your girlfriend. I want you to forget about a test that you have tomorrow. I want you to forget about where you're going to go right after practice. I want 100% concentration on the present of the next 2 hours to be basketball. After practice, he talked to him and said, okay, practice is over. Go out and enjoy life. Go out, and if you've got studying to do, 100% on your studying. So it's everything you do it in the present. And going along with that is also doing it to the fullest. Do everything to the fullest. And it's kind of goes the same. Whatever you're doing it to the fullest. You're trying. Some of the other ones that learned, I was coaching high school when all coaches were screamers and yellers, except John Wooden. John Wooden was very reserved. And he said, you've got to learn to stay even keel or you will make mistakes. And And if you ever watched him, he just sat on the bench. He didn't get excited at all, no matter what was going on. And I learned that, and I was the same. I was exactly, because I was always evaluating, other things. And so it's very important to stay even keel in your life, because more mistakes are made by emotion. And so I try to stay even keel. And I think overall I've done a pretty good job. There have been a couple of mistakes, I have to admit, where I didn't stay as even keel as I wanted to be. But I learned from it and moved on. And I've stayed, like I say, I just believe in that concept. So let's see, you've got even keel, stay in the present, do everything to the fullest. And what's the fourth one? Compete against yourself. Very,
Yeah.
very important.
That's
I
so
never worry.
powerful. Yes.
Oh, very difficult. I never worry about anybody but me. And I try to press myself. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was coaching high school, the reason we won a couple state championships because of, besides having good players, which I can tell you have to have, we played better and bigger schools than us and took the chance of losing to learn to be ready to win. In fact, one of the schools we played in a game at the WVU Coliseum before a West Virginia game. And our school, we only had a couple hundred kids, and the school we played had 2,500, and we beat them. But we lost a couple games that year against very good competition, but we won the first state championship in school's history because we weren't afraid to fail. We weren't afraid to take the risk. What is it? I love the statement. By the way, I didn't come up with this, but I love it. The three enemies to success are fear, risk, and failure. And your success will be how you handle those three: fear, risk, and failure. Because all three of them, if you don't handle them right, they will cause you not to be as successful. And I've never been afraid to take risks at all. I have no fear because I don't care if I fail. And then the last failure, I've learned that it's a great opportunity to learn. So I've just had so many great experiences. You know what I told someone the other day? You'll laugh at this. I said I had wonderful parents. I had wonderful teachers. I had great coaches and mentors. I said, I'm not so sure I haven't done as well as I should have with all the great influences that I've had. And I've been around a lot of success. And I'm starting to look at it that I should have done a lot more, I think. And I've just had so many good things happen. That's one of the reasons I'm going back to high schools and talking to kids. And by the way, charge zero. So if there's anybody out there in the education system that would like to have me come and talk to the kids about success anywhere, I will go anywhere because I'm part-time now. And so I can go anywhere. And like I said, I just came back from Vegas and love doing it, talking to teachers, talking to parents and to kids about success.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, if any of our listeners are interested, they'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
So tell us about your books
Oh
and
my.
where can people find you?
I've had so much fun. This was my first book. It's called Don't Choke. And that's where where it was about handling pressure in sports.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably in my 30s when I did that, co-authored that with Mike Scott, and went around all over the United States giving talks at camps and feature speakers about pressure and what it causes. I mean, when we look at pressure, it's amazing. And stress causes 70% of our illnesses. So we need to learn how to handle it. And I learned the greatest lesson when I was like 21 years old. I have my master's in speech and communication. And the doctor that was there was the one I wrote the book with. And he was teaching people how to relax. And I learned how to relax at 21 years old, 22. And it's one of the best skills I've ever learned. And because we all deal with stress, we all have to handle it. And I was very lucky to be involved in that. And then this book that just came out a few months ago. Success is More Than Winning. It's where I use all of my experience, all of the research that I've studied to talk about success. And like I say, I'm going around giving talks to high schools and just having a ball, just having so much fun. And my objective is to motivate at least one person.
I'm sure you've motivated more than one person, Lou. And what's your website? Where can we reach you?
Yes, yesyoucansucceed.org is the, and the book you can get is on Amazon. In fact, it's a bestseller on Amazon, I've been told. I don't know what that means other than how many books you sell at a certain amount of time. And but Amazon. And then I also have a workbook that I just finished, and it's on one of the most important things that I believe in success. It's on goal planning. I have had goals for 50 years. I write them down, and research proves how important that is. I show people how to do a vision board, and I've got in my workbook, you can do a vision board. And then the number one planning tool for the last 100 years is box planning. And that's just basically planning every hour of the day. And I've done those three things my whole life. And there's no question it's led to whatever I've succeeded in. And
that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. What, if any, last thoughts might you have for our audience?
The thing that I would say, because of knowing how a lot of people are, is take risks. Don't be afraid to fail. And remember, if it's to be, it's up to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lou, for joining us. It
Sure.
was a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you, wonderful audience, for being part of the show. Please reach out to us. Let us know how we can support you and serve you so that you can live the life you deserve. And thank you, Juan, a tech visit, for making the show technically possible. Be well, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.